Here at Titan Medical Center, we provide first-class patient care. And we also do bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for males and females.
We also offer medical weight loss, vitamin and amino acid injectable therapies, and rejuvenation detox.
Along with those libido enhancers, you know you want to pleasure your partner, right? So if you want to feel better, look better, and perform better,
call us at 727-389-3220 to become part of the Titan Medical family.
RX Television on rxmuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Cuts Training and Fitness, and Liquid Sun Rays. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions. Of course, this past weekend, a whirlwind competition weekend. All that and more. It is all on the table. So we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, big sale going on right now at speciesnutrition.com. Of course, Monday, we had the flash sale for ISOLYZE, a successful sale. Well, this time around, we go a step further. Another ISOLYZE sale right now at speciesnutrition.com.
Yeah, you know, I did a one-day at the last-minute Memorial Day sale for ISOLYZE, and you know what? I actually sold more than I really wanted to sell. One guy bought 40 tubs of it because he loves the product so much. So that was successful. We were planning to do this ISOLYZE sale. It's a 44 serving. The price doesn't get much better than this, guys. It's $44.95. You know what? If you don't buy it now, we only have a limited amount. It's a short run product. So it's short dated. It's July 31st is the expiration date. So you got 2 months on that. Obviously it doesn't go bad, but we can't sell it after 2 months. So take advantage. We only have 150 of them. So they're going to go like that. So make sure you get over to speciesnutrition.com and get it. If you spend more than $100, you get free shipping as well. So once again, I'm warning you guys, go get it quickly because they will be gone, I guarantee, within an hour.
So once again, right now at speciesnutrition.com, vanilla ice cream ISOLYZE 44 serve for $44.99. Offer is only good while supplies last. Dave, before we go to the questions, we also have a couple of big blockbuster interviews on rxmuscle.com. Derek Lunsford, many's trendy pick to take the vacated 212 Olympia crown, and another episode of Smack Talk with Sean Ray.
I just got done with the interviews, and I got to tell you, they're two of my most fun interviews that I've done in recent memory. First of all, Derek was great because I asked him some pretty keyed-in questions, especially some of the comments Sister Nino made about his training intensity and his training routine he did for the Olympia last year. We also talked about, obviously, the Ashkenani and Correa decision in New York, what he thought about that, and what his thoughts are for the Olympia. So that was a great interview. And then, of course, Sean Ray. I didn't think he could outdo the last interview where he really went off on Sean Roden, but he did. And we talked about everything from Sean Roden to Phil Heath making his comeback at the Olympia this year if he decides to do it, to Kai Green, to Dorian Yates, to Lee Haney, and some of Lee Haney's business, I guess successes that he had after the Olympia. So it was such an informative show that I even learned a lot from it, and we were arguing back and forth, which people love to see. So two great shows. Make sure you check them out.
Let's go to the questions. The first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question, Dave, thanks for answering my questions. I'm following your mass gain cycle. Can you tell me how different gear affect different receptors and how long those receptors down regulate? So do Anavar and Winstrol affect the same receptors?
There's no Anavar receptors because Anavar is not a drug, it's not a substance, or not a hormone that the body naturally produces. There's an androgen receptor, and the androgen receptors are not on the outside of the cells like protein receptors are. They're inside the cell on the cell membranes, okay, in the nucleus of the cell. On the nuclear membranes of the cell. So they bind to these androgen receptors. All the steroidal molecules, including testosterone, bind to the same receptor, but there's different configurations in there. And I'm making it very simplistic, of course. For some reason, it appears that different anabolics will bind in a different way to the same receptor. So certain affinities, obviously, if you switch drugs, they seem to have different connections. And so I don't know and I don't really know the mechanisms of how receptors work, at least on the nuclear side of things. So what I believe is happening is that the configurations change. So if you have the same drug constantly there, the configuration kind of shuts down for that drug because it doesn't want to be overstimulated by it, but yet the configuration is open for another substance to kind of click in there. Now, I'm sure there'll be some biochemists who send me an email and tell me, correct me, but more or less mechanistically, that's kind of what's happening. So it's a good idea to switch your anabolics around. Now, the receptivity for testosterone, because it's something the body produces, doesn't really change that much. However, you can get more receptor density down there so that you respond to, with a greater response, as opposed to if you're on testosterone for a long period of time, you could get a little bit of down regulation so that the body is not, once again, being overwhelmed by the testosterone. That's why it's a good idea to take off of any drug, take periods off where you're on nothing so that you can kind of let those receptors regenerate themselves.
Second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, if I do not have access to gear and GH, would you then suggest peptides and SARMs as better than nothing? What cycle, if so, what cycle would you recommend?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to just mention that the Dave Palumbo Experience has been very, very successful, lately. It was an app that I launched with a partner of mine about 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago now. And it's a collection of all the videos and writings that I've done. It also happens to include all my most of my protocols, a lot of different cycles I have in there. We put up a workout every single week, so you get a new workout to follow. Plus, I answer everyone's questions. And the great thing is I answer them in a public forum, so everyone sees everyone else's questions with the answers. The best ones I pick out, and I do a Q&A video that's also exclusive to the app members. So people for $29 a month are getting a tremendous amount of material for education purposes and for just keeping themselves sharp and being able to ask questions. It's better that, if you can't afford a coach, it's a great way to go. And I just want to thank everyone who's been supporting it. We have a lot of members and we have great questions on a daily basis. Now, this question, what was the question again, Sid?
I'll have to go back to it.
I talked myself out of it.
All right, so it was about if you don't have access to gear and GH.
Oh, right, okay, I got it.
Peptides and SARMs, if nothing else, if so, your cycle.
Yeah, if you have nothing else, something is better than nothing. SARMs to me are very weak, but if you had to take them because you had no access to anabolics, they're definitely going to do something. Peptides are going to do something. But if you're trying to compare the outcome and what they do with what you get result-wise from anabolics and from GH, you're going to be disappointed. Now, I know natural guys that have used SARMs, have used some of these GH-releasing peptides, and say, wow, they work, Yeah, because they have nothing in their body. The receptors are good. They're going to notice it. If you're a guy who's used anabolics and GH before, and now you're going backwards and using these other things, expecting to get results, you're going to probably see very little.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. If you're not following us, our handle is official_RX Muscles. Go to Damien M Fitness. I'm surprised we haven't really gotten this question before. I don't have genetically gifted calves. Kind of loses it after that, but I guess he really wants to know what he could do to bring up his calves if they're not his best, and he's not genetically gifted in that department.
Right. Well, you have two options. The first option that you should take no matter what is you have to figure out how to train them. I always had weak calves too. I had very high calves. My problem was that I had big feet too, as everyone seems to know. And it was hard for me to do calves and actually get a good contraction in my calves after several sets because my feet would always get fatigued. Because I think my foot was so far off the pad that I think it was actually straining the bottom of my feet a lot. And I have no arch support in my foot whatsoever. I have to wear orthotics. So what I found was that the first couple sets that I did of calves was when I got the best contractions and when I really felt it the most in my calves. And those were my warm-up sets. So I never was really, once I got to the heavy sets, my feet were too sore, the bottom of my feet. I never really got a good workout. So I stopped doing the warm-up sets and I just would do one set of standing and one set of seated calves to work the two different parts of the calf, the gastrocnemius and the soleus muscles. And I did that twice a week and I would do enough weight where I could just barely get 15 reps out with really good form. And for some reason, that focused, concentration on the calves in only 2 sets twice a week made my calves grow. I was getting good contractions. I was focused. I was giving it was like the Dorian Yates, Mike Menser heavy duty version of calves, except I was doing 15 reps. And I'm telling you, it broke through a lot of plateaus. I also used some of at the time, the Chris Clark pump and post synthesized, product in there. I didn't use a lot of it because it was a little uncomfortable to do it, because you're walking around with it all day. But I did use some of that in there. I didn't use as much as I used in my arms, so the effectiveness really was due to training more so than anything. But it definitely helped. So it was the combination of reconfiguring my training for calves combined with doing some site injections stuff in there. And if anyone's interested, I can send you the protocol that I believe that you should use for calves as far as the site injection goes. But I'm telling you, the training protocol works. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like it's not enough, but it is.
S-Ball95, and I just want to clarify a potential misconception. Dave, now that Phil Heath is now competing at the 2019 Olympia. So first of all, Dave, you did a video yesterday.
Yeah.
And no one said that he is competing, but there was a screenshot from his fiance saying that he is, quote, starting his diet, he's starting prep. And again, you could speculate all you want, and that's exactly what it is. If you want to just touch on that video and what led to that video yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean, someone sent me, I didn't notice it. I don't scour Instagram all day. I have my guys who bring me stuff, and they say, hey, look at this. Did you check this out? And it was Phil's girlfriend posting that Phil's getting ready, for something. Now, they didn't say the Olympia, but they did reference Hani Radmad, time to, get going. And obviously, Hani's been his coach for the Olympia for 10 years. So I have to assume that it's possible that we could be seeing Phil Heath on stage. I think he wants to do it. I think he's dying. As a matter of fact, I think he's dying to do it. I think he wants that, and why not? He wants that Sandow back. He didn't get beat by very much. He beat himself essentially. So he doesn't have any torn muscles. He had a hernia issue going on that could be fixed. If he controls his midsection, he can certainly win the Olympia again. He doesn't have any deficit body parts. So I think Phil's doing it. Now, the other option is that he's just getting ready for guest appearances, and maybe he's going to launch a new product line and he wants to look good for pictures. That's a possibility. But I think we're going to see him on that Olympia stage. I think he's not going to make the committed announcement yet. He's going to tease us for another few weeks, and then I'm sure him and AMI are going to get together and do a big announcement, and then the countdown starts. But I believe that we're going to see Phil Heath on that Olympia stage. In my gut, I feel it.
I mean, the second part of the question was, now that Phil Heath is, quote, doing the Olympia, if that would encourage or discourage Kai Green from taking the Olympia stage.
If Phil were to do the Olympia, we're not saying he is, because I don't know. I just speculated. If he is doing the Olympia, I think that would discourage Kai to do it. Because I think that I don't believe that Kai thinks he could beat Phil Heath. I think that if we analyze their physiques, Kai could beat Phil Heath. I don't think that Kai in his brain thinks he could beat Phil Heath. So I think that would be a discouraging thing. But I don't think that Kai is going to do the Olympia, whether Phil does it or not. I just don't think we're going to see Kai at this Olympia. I just don't think he's... Look, Sean Ray said it, a couple other people said it. If Kai was going to do the Olympia, he would have put it out there by now. He doesn't need to hide it at this point. He would have said, you know what? I'm coming for you guys. You better be ready. That's what I would do. Lay it on the line. He doesn't have to sign a contract right away, but at least let everyone know I'm coming. Because he knows that the invite is there. He can get that invite at any time. All he's got to do is ask for it. Would be, the fact that he's not expressing any interest in it right now, and we're less than 16 weeks out, tells me he's not doing it.
A lot of good questions here. Let's see how many we can nail in the next 20, 25 minutes. Cameron Coates, minimum time to take off after cycle for receptor resensitization.
I like 8 weeks. For some reason, I feel that 8 weeks is, because here's the problem. For the first 4 weeks, you still have stuff in your system. Everyone thinks, oh, look how great I look. I've been off for 3 weeks already. No, you still, the drugs don't leave your system the day after your last shot. Okay, it takes like 3 to 4 weeks for them to get out of your system. So that first 3 to 4 weeks, you're doing your PCT. You really still have drug in your system. It's after that you're really off. So I think it's a 4-week completely clean with nothing in your system is really necessary for that receptor, reset, so to speak, and the detoxification process to be complete. So it's an 8-week from the last shot minimum. I used to do 10 weeks every year because I only went off once a year. I would go off 10 to 12 weeks, and then I would go completely the whole year and stay on again. There was only 1 year in '97 that I didn't go off, and I stayed on like a low grade testosterone, and you know what? My body just didn't respond. Didn't like the way I felt toxic, and I was pissed off that I didn't go off. But I had so many commitments, that I was afraid to go off, and it was stupid because you know what? I never really lost a lot when I went off because I ate great. I ate a lot of food. I never got fat. People used to think I was on when I was off. So it was stupid to do it that 1 year. But you live and learn. Sometimes you make mistakes.
Well, let's go to the natural guy, and I know you've been getting a lot of questions about him, and forgive me if I mispronounce the name, Tim Budesheim.
Yes.
Your thoughts, obviously, strong showing at the New York Pro, finishing second at the Cal State Pro. Do you think he could be a top 10 guy at the Olympia in the near future?
He's in good shape. He's got good conditioning. His structure is good. It's not great. I think that he could be a popular guy. I think we're going to see a lot more muscle put on this guy over the next 2 to 3 years. I just think I could tell his physique's going to explode with muscle, and he gets in shape. So he'll be a freaky guy. He could be a guy that's super freaky on stage, depending on how big he gets. I think with his structure, he has to get really big to really be impressive. And I'm talking like 15, 20 pounds bigger. And if he does that, I think he will be a fan favorite. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be around for a long time, and he'll be a popular guy. If he stays the way he is, he'll be good, but he'll never be great. So it's going to really depend on where he wants to go with it, how much muscle he wants to put on, how dedicated he is to the cause. But I think he's definitely someone who's piquing people's interest for sure, especially because he's bringing that really clean, crisp conditioning to the stage.
Go to Time is Muscle. Do you have a water loading protocol for your clients, specifically if weigh-ins are the same day as the show day?
I hate water loading. I hate you know what? When people ask me how much water they should drink, I always tell them drink when you're thirsty. I don't like the whole act of drinking too much and then cutting it back. I just cut it back the last day, and I cut it out at a certain point. I think that when you put too much excessive water in that last week, more than you've been drinking, I think what you're doing is you're screwing with your electrolytes because you're watering them down. Remember, when your body has to flush extra water out of the body, it takes salt and potassium with it. So I think you're pulling electrolytes out of your body when you're over drinking. Yeah, it suppresses aldosterone levels, but I don't think you need to. If you eat sodium on a regular basis, that's going to keep aldosterone levels low anyway, because aldosterone is a measure of sodium in your body, not water. So I think that over drinking it works for some people, but I think once again it's like rolling the dice that last week. If you haven't done it the whole diet, why would you start guzzling a ton of water? Now I have a guy who I was helping who was drinking 5 gallons of water a day. I don't know how he was doing it. I truly don't even know. I almost think that it's dangerous to do that much, but he did it on a regular basis, and he's been doing it for months and months and months. So it wasn't like he was just like, hey, Dave, I'm going to start drinking 5 gallons of water a day. I went from drinking a gallon yesterday, tomorrow I'm going to drink 5. He wasn't doing that. That would have been deadly. So he kind of got used to it. And I still cut him back. I thought it was too much. So I wouldn't water load. Like I said, I cut sodium the last day. Like if we have a Saturday morning show, I cut it on Friday. And then I actually even put it back on Friday night after the people stop drinking. So I usually stop their drinking about 12 hours before they're on stage. And that seems to work well. And then I'll use diuretics as necessary. But I think once you start playing around with sodium, water too much that last week, man, you're asking for trouble.
Let's go to Barbarian Training. Says Luke Sandow is going to be guest posing at their show, the Barbarian Classic, in 2 weeks. He wants to know, who is the best guest poser you ever saw in person?
Good question. From a entertainment standpoint, I wonder, or from a freakiness standpoint?
Let's do both.
Well, Dorian Yates in '93, when I saw him guest pose at the Atlantic States, and I talked about this with Dorian, was the freakiest guy I'd ever seen on stage. He was probably close to 300, maybe 290 pounds, and he was shredded. He was just enormous. His calves were like tree trunks. I mean, the crowd went nuts. Everyone didn't even know how to respond. Everyone was on their feet just going absolutely bonkers, So that was probably the wackiest guy I had ever seen on stage. As far as entertaining goes, I've seen a lot of guys who just were super creative on stage, guest posing. I always try to put together some kind of a fun act too. People seem to like me guest posing because I was always in pretty good shape. The problem is that a lot of the guys that have good routines don't really hold their conditioning in the off season. So unless you catch them like 6 weeks or 4 weeks out from a show, you're not really seeing, the greatest type of people. I would have to say Kai Green is probably the best guest posing performer I've seen, because it's like watching a Broadway show he puts on for you. toward the end of his career, he wasn't quite as entertaining. He would kind of only be up there for a little bit. But in the beginning of his career, where he really took the posing serious, he would put on some crazy exhibitions. He'd wear costumes and he'd be doing flips on stage and jumping through the air and doing all kinds of creative poses. I loved it. I would have to say Kai Green.
Let's go to Iron Addict 74. Dave, your thoughts about carb cycling in the off-season to prevent fat gain while bulking? Training days to go high carb, off days low carb.
I don't believe that. I think you should actually eat more on the off days. I know it's a controversial statement. People don't understand the concept of it, but think about it. You're not doing anything on an off day. What's happening to your body? You're repairing muscle on those days. The days you're in the gym, you're breaking down muscle. Yeah, you're repairing too, but you're actually breaking down more than you're repairing. So that's why it's so important to take off days from the gym. I always tell people, you got to take minimum of 2 days off per week where you do no weight training. Cardio is a different story because you're not really breaking down a lot of muscle. You're just kind of using the muscle, but you're breaking down muscle when you're weight training. The 2 days you're off, you're rebuilding. So those days you want to eat more food so that you have that nutrition available to rebuild. So it's a mistake to cut back your food. Now, as far as carb cycling, I don't really do carb cycling on a weekly basis for off season. I give consistent carbs because I want to see how the person's body responds. If I'm giving them, 400 grams of carbs a day and 400 grams of protein and 150 grams of fat, I want to see if it's enough. Are they growing? Are they gaining weight? Yeah, then I keep it. If they're not gaining, I increase the food. If they're getting too fat and I see they're gaining weight, but it's sloppy weight, I cut the carbs back. But I consistently cut it back for every single day. When you're eating a lot of carbs, you don't need to carb cycle. You carb cycle when you're trying to diet down because you want to go low days, and then you don't want to. Then on the other days, you want to fill those glycogen stores up a little bit. But when you're off season, the mentality is different. You want to take in enough carbs to fuel your bodily processes and your gym workouts so that the protein and fat you eat gets used for building and repairing muscle. So I don't believe in carb cycling off season. I just believe in cutting back the carbs if you're getting too fat and then raising them up if you're too depleted.
Let's go to Nikki Anderson. How soon are calories absorbed? I've heard that calories are absorbed as soon as you chew the food. Is this true? Because I've also heard that they're absorbed later in the intestine. Your thoughts, please.
Okay. Most of the food is absorbed in your small intestine. Okay, so yes, the digestion process of carbohydrates starts in your mouth with the salivary amylases. Those start to break down the carbs. You don't absorb anything through your mouth though. Okay, then the food gets down into your stomach. Now the environment changes. It turns to an acidic environment where protein digestion occurs. Nothing else gets digested there except protein. Then when the food turns into sludge, it's called chyme, it moves into the small intestine, the duodenum, the beginning of the small intestine, which is where all the enzymes and everything get. The pancreatic lipases, which digest fats, the pancreatic amylases, which digest carbs, and the pancreatic proteases, which digest protein, and the bile from the gallbladder that comes out that breaks the fat globules into smaller pieces so that the lipases can work on it. And that's where all the digestion really finishes up. And as the reason why the intestinal tract is so long is because that small intestine is because the food is getting absorbed along that track. So it's not just in one area that it's getting absorbed. As it transports through that tract, it gets absorbed. When the food makes it to the colon, which is the large intestine, that's where the water is extracted out of there. And that's when the liquid waste becomes a solid waste, and then you poop it out. So, and that's the process. So most of the food gets absorbed in the intestinal tract. A little bit minerals and stuff, chelated minerals. Some stuff can get digested through the stomach lining, but most of it's the small intestinal tract.
Let's go to S. Joe, big fan. Can you give an explanation on how to preserve nitrogen more in weaker body parts? Can it be done through supplementation, or should we specifically train our weaker body parts? Yes, that's the question.
The term nitrogen balance is so nondescript. It's really, I think Joe Weider termed that, to be honest with you. What we talk about is, are you eating enough protein, okay, so that you can support muscle repair and muscle growth? That's really what we're talking about. Weak body parts are weak body parts usually because they don't recover well. That's what I've found, or they're not being stimulated properly. So if you're a bench presser and you're using too much shoulder and rounding your shoulders off when you're bench pressing, you're not stimulating the muscle enough. That's why it's not growing. But if you have a body part that you actually train and you actually do feel the muscle, but it's not growing, it could be because either you're overtraining it because it's one of these body parts that just doesn't recover well, or you're not eating enough nutrition to support the growth. More than likely, weak body parts need to be trained less frequently rather than more frequently. The only time they respond to more frequent training is because maybe you're not stimulating them enough because you are cheating. You know, I see guys, it was a client of mine, you know, sent me a leg press video. He said, how do these leg presses look? He was moving the weight maybe a foot. Okay, he was going this, he was doing this. And he's like, is this good to build legs? I'm like, you're not doing anything. You have no range of motion. I said, well, how are you going to build any muscle? You got to bring the weight all the way down. I said, lighten the weight up. Now you can stimulate them. So it wasn't that he had weak legs, he just wasn't training them right with a full range of motion. And then I have other guys that will send me videos of themselves squatting, and I'm like, wow, that was a good squat. You know, maybe your legs are just not recovering. They're like, yeah, I've been training them every 3 days, and then I grow them. Well, you're training them too much. Weak body parts need to be trained less frequently, not more frequently. And I think these are the mistakes that people tend to make.
Zaro5144, best exercise for the lower back and the safest to make it, he says bulletproof, but let's just go with injury proof.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think that there's a lot of different, you know, I used to, you know, alternate every other week between deadlifts and hyperextensions. And I think those work, I'm assuming he's talking about the spinal erector muscles, those little muscles that kind of the Christmas tree, we call them. And once again, the hyperextensions, you know, on that hyperextension machine where you kind of like go down and up, that works them, but you really can't use an excessive amount of weight because your back is in a very compromised position. Deadlifting, you can use more weight. When you lock out at the top of that deadlift, boom, you're really, you know, flexing those spinal erector muscles. And so I feel that a combination of every other week of those two exercises, you know, one or the other will bring up the spinal erectors. Now, if you're talking about lower lat development, that's a different story. To me, one arm dumbbell rows pulled nice and low, those really target those lower lats. If you're looking for those, you know, those striated lower lats with thick denseness, if you look at Dorian's back, and guys like, even Akeem Williams has got really good lowers. That's what you're seeing there. And once again, one arm rows.
Let's go to Joseph Blasco. He's asked this question almost every week. Finally, we'll take it. One of my biggest questions is supplements. When do you take them? Which ones are the proper ones? Yada, yada, yada. So what he wants to know is if you were to take ISOLYZE, TESTOLYZE, and Amino Evolved together, or is it better taking it, splitting them out throughout the course of the day?
Yeah. What I recommend is that when you take vitamins, take it with food. So if you're doing like your V-Mineralize for your vitamins, minerals, you're doing your OmegaLyze for your essential fats, you're doing ISOLYZE for your joint repair and support, take those together with like your meal in the morning and then for dinner at night. So I always split the vitamins into 2 servings, okay? And that's how I've designed the bottles of OmegaLyze, V-Mineralize, and ISOLYZE. So you could take 5 pills of the ISOLYZE, 5 pills of V-Mineralize, 3 pills of OmegaLyze in the morning, and then do the same thing at night with food. Okay? Amino Evolved is an essential amino acid branched-chain amino acid product. That's something you could take during your workout if you want. You could take it in between meals if you're just sitting around and you want to get a little extra amino acids in your system and you like the taste of it. That's a product that can be peppered throughout the day. I wouldn't necessarily take that with food. I would do that in between meals, okay? Whereas vitamins are always taken with food.
Let's go to eBerg 1971, interesting one here. Do you think if the pro ranks had weight classes similar to the amateurs, lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, etc., that there wouldn't be the need for new divisions and it would help for the popularity of the sport? So I guess he specifically means maybe taking 212 out, but classic physique and men's physique.
Yeah, I don't think so, because I think it would get boring. It's just too many classes. I think that people will get bored seeing the same guys doing the same thing. I think the reason why people like classic and they like men's physique is that it's different. Men's physique, it's just an upper body contest essentially. Classic is you're hitting slightly different poses. You are limited by your weight for your height. It's different than weight classes. It's a proportionate type of thing. So, you know, guys that are 6'4" can weigh 240 pounds. I mean, that's a lot of weight. Guys that are, you know, 5'2" can only weigh 140 pounds, or whatever the cutoff is. I'm not really sure what they are. So it's not really weight classes, it's a proportion thing. So I think that appeals to different types of people with different types of physique. So I don't really agree with that statement. I think that the different divisions are better than, say, doing weight classes would be.
Take a couple of more. Babylonius 22. Are type 2B fibers really the key to muscle growth? I've heard that every work set should be to failure in the 6 to 12 rep range to stimulate those fibers. Dave, so for those not aware, what is a 2B fiber?
Simplistically speaking, so that we don't confuse anyone, you have your fast twitch muscle fibers which respond to fast, heavy, explosive movements. Those fibers will hypertrophy and get bigger in size. And then you have your slow twitch fibers, okay, your red fibers, which are oxygen rich, which are your endurance fibers. You stimulate those like by going out for a 6-mile run, they're not going to get bigger. They just become more oxygen efficient. They use fat as a fuel source, whereas the fast twitch fibers use carbohydrates, glycogen storage as a fuel source. Obviously, for bodybuilding purposes, we want to stimulate the fast twitch fibers. How do we do that? Heavy weight, low reps. If you're doing 20, 30 reps on a set, you're going to use your endurance fibers, which are not going to get bigger. That's why you can't turn weight training into an aerobic type of workout. If you do that, you're not going to get any bigger. You ever seen a distance runner with huge legs? No. You see sprinters that do explosive short movements, okay, using carbs as a fuel source, stimulating the fast twitch fibers. Now, there are intermediate fibers throughout the whole range, so you don't just have one or the other. It's a whole gamut of them. But as a bodybuilder, we want to engage those predominantly fast twitch fibers. Why? Because those are the ones that get bigger.
Last question from Nash Aesthetic Physique. Dave, I've been lifting weights now for 12 years and bodybuilding seriously for 6 years. Progress is slow and steady, but of course the gains don't come nearly as quick as they used to. I have no issues with finding motivation, but what would you do to stay focused and positive through those long muscle gain plateaus?
You got to enjoy the process. You got to know what the process is. The process is you're constantly, the reason why I loved bodybuilding is that I can see my body changing. And if I didn't see change, then I knew that I had to change something in my program, whether it be eating or the way I trained. Obviously, there are periods that you're going to have stasis. In other words, when I would go off cycle, I knew I wasn't putting much muscle on. It was about maintenance. But I knew I was maintaining because I was going to go back on and I was going to make more improvements. And then obviously when I would diet for a show, I know I was trying, my goal was to get in the best shape of my life. So there was always a goal there and I always had something to achieve. A lot of guys who get stagnant are people who don't have goals. They're like, okay, I'm going to compete in 3 years from now and I'm just going to try to grow till then. Well, you're not going to grow for 3 years straight. You're going to wander off the path. You're going to lose your focus. Always have little mini goals that you're shooting for. Even if it's getting in shape to go on vacation, I don't care. Have small goals that you set for yourself to keep yourself interested in what you're doing. Because if you set goals that are too far away, they seem almost like, oh, I'll worry about that. I don't have to get too. It doesn't matter if I miss this weekend. I can go out drinking with my friends. I still got 3 years before I'm going on stage. You know what? That time goes very fast. And if you flounder and you don't focus from the day you start and put your mind to it, you're going to let the next guy pass you by. And before you know it, you're an old guy and it's too late. So I was always going against the clock. I was competing against the clock. In my head, there was a time clock clicking and I said, you know what? If I miss one single day, one single workout, one single meal, then I am giving up the ability to be the best that I can be and I'm allowing someone else to outwork me, and that was not acceptable in my wheelhouse. And because of that, I made tremendous gains over a very short period of time.
On that note, that's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder, right now at Species.Nutrition.com, limited time sale, vanilla ice cream ISOLYZE 44 serve for $44.99. This is only going to be good while supplies last. They may go as quickly as the next couple of hours. So jump on it now. Vanilla ice cream ISOLYZE 44 serve for $44.99 only at Species.Nutrition.com. For Dave Palumbo and our producer Tyler Shore, I'm Steve Faruqi. We'll see you next time.